Augmented reality and its mixed reality incarnations will soon be allowing us to enjoy experiences unlike anything we currently have available. In this video, we'll be going over what augmented reality is, what it's good for, what currently holds it back from the mainstream, and why it is that it'll likely surpass those limitations sooner rather than later. Hello virtual dreamers, Gregory here. In my recent videos, you may have noticed me bringing up the subject of augmented reality, or AR, more often, and you can probably tell that it's got me pretty hyped up for the future. Let's clear up where some of that excitement comes from and get some learning done in the process now, shall we? Just so we're all on the same page, let's go over what I mean when I say augmented reality. By definition, augmented reality is basically overlaying a virtual image over the real image that we're supposed to be seeing. It used to encompass every single form of this, but as language doesn't matter to people anymore, just know that when I say augmented reality, I am speaking in particular of applications that either put a heads-up display or HUD over reality, the ones that mix real life and virtual elements together, such as holograms, and applications where we replace basically all of reality, but the virtual world still accounts for the real world environment in its creation. That last one in particular has been a little bothersome for me to talk about, since depending on whether or not you want to be a stickler, it could even include our current incarnation of virtual reality within its definition. But to keep things distinct, I'll only be using it in reference to arena scale and world scale experiences of that type. So do you guys get all that? Good? Let's get into what all the hype is about. The thing that makes AR interesting here is that it has a lot of the unique benefits of our virtual tech, but lets us use it seamlessly with real life. You get to use the conveniences of your phone or computer without having to limit yourself to either a set location or a limited interface. Summon up a bunch of big virtual displays for writing up a document, or convert your park into a dungeon and enjoy fantasy combat without the restraints of a VR locomotion problem. That very same Use It Anywhere perk also makes it pretty handy for more social scenarios, since it allows you to more smoothly integrate with our real-life obligations at large. You can go ordinal scale and virtualize the whole environment, or you can just have a few elements so that the errant cat or coworker is more readily accessible. In its ideal form, this would all be done with a bit of hardware no bigger than a pair of glasses, making it easy enough to keep on you everywhere you go, meaning you could have your virtual life about you at all times. While it can seem like this kind of vision is far away, it's actually close enough that software is already being made in anticipation of it. Cell phones are already doing their darndest to emulate the AR experience using their cameras for virtual displays. This has given us fun applications like Pokemon Go and even more useful stuff like measuring apps. Even when the interface is as limited as it is right now, the tech sector sees the potential here so much that just about every major giant is involved in it. You need only look at the Pokemon Go moment of insanity to see why that is. A social application that let everyone share in the experience was readily apparent to everyone who wasn't involved, promoting the application and giving people a mere taste of the dream of having their virtual obsession, Pokemon, come to real life. That's what an app working off of smartphone cameras, GPS, and 4G did. Can't wait to see what we'll get once proper AR glasses, spatial tracking, and 5G are involved. Keyword here being wait. I did mention at the beginning of this video that there are still some things standing in AR's path to dominance at this point, so let's address those issues to keep expectations here in check. The most apparent problem right now is that the ideal augmented reality product simply doesn't exist yet. AR in its current form exists as a swath of different products and form factors that each attempt to deliver on one facet of the AR dream, but can't achieve things on all fronts. Products like Focals by North are able to give you some HUD elements, but lack spatial awareness and need to be calibrated per user. The HoloLens can deliver on placing objects in your view, but the hologram nature of it means that real-world items can be seen if they're bright enough, making them poor for mixed reality. If we look at products like the Quest, they're capable of some pseudo-AR functions like if you virtualize the room or use pass-through cameras for visualizing things, but they're not in color and it can be risky to use them outdoors due to the sun burning out sensors through the lenses or the risk of not seeing dangers if you're out and about. It's also worth noting for just about all of these that, maybe with the exception of the Quest, they can be prohibitively expensive and many aren't willing to put up hundreds of dollars to save lifting up their phone screen, or thousands for a HoloLens to put a hologram in front of them, only covering a certain amount of their field of vision. It's also worth noting that socially, while you can use AR in public, there's the big matter of whether or not you would want to. A big challenge of AR products is trying to figure out where to put the electronics so that they're as minimally intrusive as possible, since a lot of people tend to care about what they look like when they're outside in public. As a result, smaller products often sacrifice functionality for the sake of being less tacky, and larger products obtain more functionality in exchange for making you look like a weirdo. When you add into this that using AR for gameplay or interactions looks no less weird than it does for something like a VR headset, and you end up with a situation where we've got some cultural perception and personal style comfort matters to address if we're going to see people using this stuff in public. Seeing as we're discussing potential just as much as we're discussing reality here, it also has to be noted that even in its ideal state, there are some limitations of augmented reality that we can't reasonably expect to see resolved. Haptics, for example, will most likely only ever be used for indication of contact rather than force feedback out of concerns for safety. We already see people falling over themselves in VR trying to lean on things that aren't there. Can you imagine the uproar that will occur when people seriously injure themselves if they get knocked back by an attack and end up spraining ankles or getting hurt in traffic? Actually, scratch that. You might not even need to imagine it. We've already had people fall off of cliffs and get into traffic accidents playing Pokemon Go. The key here is knowing what we're getting into. A big part of the wish to have virtual items in the real world can come from the desire for fantasy to be real, but without the ability to touch things at this stage, it's going to be an inevitable area of disappointment for a lot of people when they're first introduced to the medium. Like with anything, AR isn't exactly a solve all our problems and make people infinitely happy technology, and we're going to have to learn to keep our expectations in check for some of the limitations facing our current tech and the platform as a whole. I must remind you though that I did say at the beginning of this video that augmented reality is going to surpass its problems sooner rather than later. So it should be pretty clear that I am by no means telling you to kill the hype. Far from it, actually. Let's get the hype train rolling for our upcoming toys now, shall we? Augmented reality today may be divided up into a bevy of products, but at the very least, we are seeing some signs that products that tailor to specific desires of customers from the augmented reality space are being developed and reaching the market. We used to need things that looked like Google Glass for HUD functionality, but now we've got items like focals that look almost indistinguishable from a big pair of glasses. HoloLens may be thousands of dollars, but we can at least rest assured that products like the Quest can enable some degree of AR functionality and can be had for a few $100s. And that's without actually being AR focused. If those focals get sleeker and get more functionality, and standalone VR form factors start to leverage environment recognition and become sleeker, we may very well have a nice balance on our hands where you can use your HUD glasses all day to do smartphone stuff and have a bigger standalone headset for when you have more dedicated tasks to get done, like turning your house into a horror game or going out on an augmented reality raid event with a big group of friends. When a product is sufficiently useful, people learn to accommodate it. We need only look at the progression of our current technologies to see that. Dedicated VR gamers are clearing out rooms for room scale. Our normies managed to accommodate things like television, speakers, and cable back when they were gigantic boxes and monolithic antennas and stuff. Even in its current iteration, I think that people got used to seeing flocks of Pokemon trainers running around staring at their phones fairly quickly too. I'd say a group having an AR raid event at a park won't be any more weird after a while than anything else we've adapted to in the past. And beyond that point, once all the social awkwardness has died down and the hardware limitations are overcome, and we come face to face with the intrinsic limitations of AR as a medium, I think we'll just learn to live with them for the sake of the perks of what we do get. Mixed reality, mobile VR, AR, XR, or whatever you want to call this, it can deliver on things that are closer to matching the sci-fi inspirations of its origin than quite a lot of other technologies. It doesn't have a locomotion problem like VR does. People aren't expecting haptics to be great here, since even science fiction expected limitations on this front from the outset. If your fantasy is to go on a raid to take down a giant Sikh samurai monster with your friends like an ordinal scale, you'll get that soon enough. Before it even did in the anime even, since that took place in 2026. If you want to have Pokemon battles with your friends where you see the destruction around you, or Yu-Gi-Oh duels where it looks just like the anime using your real cards, you can have that. Augmented reality only promises to make real life more like the virtual world, and it looks like it's going to deliver on that promise splendidly sooner rather than later. At the time of this video's release, I think we're just on the border of seeing what AR truly has to offer. Let Focal's tech get cheaper. HoloLens have a consumer version, and the Quest have another iteration or two, and we'll have something really special on our hands. This could very well be the next smartphone level revolution that the wearable space has been promising for over a decade now. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to miss a single second of it. Thank you very much for watching this video. Be sure to rate, comment, share, and subscribe to let YouTube algorithm Sama know you want to come back here for more. Consider donating to my Patreon to help support me in what I do, or join the Discord server to chat with other like-minded individuals. Links are all down below in the description. Till next time, my fellow adventurers and dreamers, this has been Gregory, logging out.